This is going to be a very short overview of what a box and whisker plot is. In another video, I'm going to walk you through how exactly to create one with an example. But for now, I want you to see on your screen, this is a box and whisker diagram or a box and whisker plot. It is a way to highlight 5 important values from a set of data, which are particularly useful for comparing different data sets. Also, by finding our quartiles and our interquartile range, we are going to be able to determine whether certain values are outliers. So take a look at the graph on your screen right now. Notice that we have a box. This is why it's called a box and whisker plot. Okay, we have in the middle of the box a line, which this line in the middle of the box is the median. The median is basically the 50th percentile of our data. Then we have the lower quartile, which is our Q1, which is approximately 25% of our data. We have the other upper quartile back here, which is Q3. This is 75% of our data. And then we have our whiskers, which go out towards the maximum on the right hand side, and they go out towards the minimum on the left hand side. The way a box and whisker plot works is it basically takes all of your data and it splits it into 4 equal parts. So every quarter represents 25% of the data. So right here, between the minimum value and the lower quartile, that is 25% of the data. Between the lower quartile and the median, that represents 25% of the data. Between the median and the upper quartile, you have another 25%. And then from the third quartile all the way to the max, you have the last quarter or the last 25%. The purpose of a box and whisker plot is to show you the distribution of the data. One way to understand a box and whisker plot is to realize that this represents 25% of the data. So this right here is your middle 25% of your data. And that means that when we talk about interquartile range, IQR, which is Q3 minus Q1, we really are talking about the box, quote unquote, okay? That is why when you go to figure out outliers, the way you find outliers, it requires you to figure out the interquartile range, and then you're gonna multiply that by 1.5. So 1.5 is what is kind of the standard for us to be able to locate outliers. So to find outliers, you would have to figure out the lower fence by taking Q1 and subtracting 1.5 times the interquartile range. That's going to determine your lower fence. Then you'll have to figure out the upper fence, which is Q3 plus 1.5 times IQR. Once you get your lower fence and your upper fence, anything outside of those fences, those are going to be values that are considered outliers. That is something that we're going to practice in another example that we're going to do together in another video. This is just an overview so that you understand that a box and whisker plot, what it does is divide the data into 4 equal parts, where each part represents 25% of the data. The box itself is what's called the middle 50th percent of the data values. And what it shows you is the distribution of each one of those quarters.